Hi, welcome to the video. I'm going to go over the basics of MyCostPro and some of the newer features that were added in the last update. So let's get started. Okay, so in the top left here you can see the different activities that you can navigate to, including checking your sold items, checking your active items, and checking your unsold items. Going to the expense tracking and going to the product master setup. This is where you would input your cost of goods sold prior to the item selling, and then when it sells it can automatically import using the SKU or item title. Mileage tracking was added in the recent update. Then there's various reports and a new pro query that lets you query things in much more detail than was possible before. And the settings page, a new client commission setup, and the expense category setup. And in the middle here you see a dashboard that you can change between different items that you want to see calculated and different time periods. So let's look at the settings. This is where you would input your download keys. Your first download key will be set automatically the first time you open the program. You need to input it to get in. If you added a second or third account, you would add them here, and then you can rename the account, and this is what will show up on the sold item history. Here's the download duration that it's going to check for each account. If you're missing a transaction, you may need to back up that time period and check it again, because MyCostPro will only check between the last time it was checking for sales and the current time. So that's in order to make it go faster. If you need to go back further, you can reset that duration and it'll check that time period again. If there's anything like a returned item and that data wasn't available the first time you downloaded it, when you reset this duration, it'll fill that information in. We changed the way the characteristics of this act. So previously when you change the duration and click the reset duration button, that number would go away. Now this number will continuously refresh to show how long that next query will be for. So if you came back tomorrow, if this was set to 60, tomorrow that will say 61, and the day after it will say 62, etc. We have to gather bulk shipping a different way than normal shipping in MyCostPro because it doesn't have the transaction level information. Some people don't like to see that bulk shipping information with their sold list because it's not really a sold item, it's just a cost that was incurred. So we added the ability to either have those bulk shipping purchases show up as a sold item row on your sold item list, or send them directly to the expense tracking tab, or ignore them completely and you can fill in shipping manually. Down here at the bottom left are the steps to transfer your data if you have a pre-existing MyCostPro sheet and you want to download an updated version or just a newer, cleaner version that doesn't have any information on it for a new year. So basically the first step, you would open the old file, click this button here. That just makes a copy of the file and renames the copy. And then you will copy your download key and close MyCostPro. Then open your brand new sheet with no information in it and go to step 2 here and click that, and that will import all the data from the previous sheet. Just make sure those two sheets are in the same folder together in Windows with no other files in there and kind of jumping around. But over here on the right, you can have the default settings. So full screen hides and unhides the ribbon bar and the row and the column labeling. So you get more screen real estate in full screen mode and more options basically if you deactivate full screen mode. Then you have your widget calculation just on this home page. If you want these to automatically calculate, or if you want to wait until you hit this button here, that's this setting for auto or on click. You can change your currency between dollars and pounds, etc. The UTC offset is the difference between UTC time zone and your time zone as a plus or negative value. So if you're 6 hours behind UTC, for example, you would put -6. And what this does is it adjusts eBay standard time of UTC to your time zone so that the sales don't look like they're at 1 a.m. the next morning, when really you sold at 3 p.m. the day before. Okay, then you have your sorting method. Either you can group by store or just sort by date for your sold items. So if you have 3 different stores and you want them to be mixed together, you can do by date, or if you want them to be separate, you can do by store. You can sort by ascending or descending, so your new sales will be at the top of the sheet or the bottom of the sheet. And then the way that you want to join the product master information to the sold list, so that's where you put in your cost of goods and maybe inventory source and that kind of information. that you want to populate automatically when the item sells. Okay, going back to the Home tab, we'll look at the sold item list. So on this sold item list, we changed the way that you can kind of hide and unhide columns. If there's an H up here in this row, and you click this Hide H Columns button, all the columns with the H's will be hidden. So this is an easy way if there's some data you don't want to see, maybe it's just too much information, you can hide and unhide those columns. To download the sales, you click this Download Sales from eBay button, and like I mentioned before, that's going to go to the duration either that you set manually on the Account Info tab for that one time, or it's going to go back to the last time that you queried your sold items. If you scroll over to the right, you'll see the profit that's calculated from the income minus your expenses and your return on investment. If you've input cost of goods sold, you can see how much percentage profit you made. The active item list, if you query that, it shows what items you currently have listed on eBay. This makes it convenient to update your product master. When you download items, you can put an X in the column here, one X across from each item that you want to update to the product master tab, and click this button here, and this will send those items to the product master tab so you can fill in the cost of goods. The reason you can't fill it in directly here is this screen is a snapshot of your active items. So the next time you hit it, it may be different items than it was initially because you have different items listed right now. We'll go ahead and look at the product master. So like I mentioned before, this is where you would send your items from the active item list or just fill in manually. You can put what the SKU is, and when the item sells, it'll automatically link to the SKU that sold. You can put your purchase price, inventory source, and other information. Looking at the unsold list, this is where you'd go to view your unsold items. So in case you had insertion fees or other fees that you spent money on but the item didn't sell, this is where you'd capture those. Okay, let's look at the Pro query here. So once you've sold items, you can put in a date range. You can put in information like the order number, keywords from the item description like compact disc or book or whatever. You can look for the category for the item that you want to filter by, the listing format such as buy it now or auction style, SKU, inventory source, the state of the sale. So this is in case you need to account for how much tax is collected in a specific state. If you have more than one account, you might want to pick just one of the accounts. And we'll go over the client commission after this maybe, but you could sort by the client's name and just see the items that sold for that client in this time period to generate an invoice or whatever. Once you put those items in, you'd click refresh snapshot, and that'll make the summary show up over here. And if you want to view the itemized list, you'd click this button here, and that'll take you to an itemized list of that query. So for client commission setup, there's two examples in here when you download it initially. So you can set just a simplified commission in this column here, maybe 50% or whatever, or sliding commission, and that refers to these gray cells over here. If you have sliding, it would be in the scenario where from $1 to $100 you charge 50%, from $100 to $500 you charge 40%, and from $500 to however high you charge 30% commission. Then you could use a sliding scale. You type sliding here, and then you type in the percentage that the client retains here, and you get the remainder. And then in order for that to populate to the sold item page, you can either have a SKU set up for each client where when that SKU sells, it automatically links and pulls in this commission information, or you could have an inventory source. For example, if Karen is set up here and you have an inventory source and you have the word Karen there, it's going to match this commission to that sale. We'll look at the expense tracking tab. So this is where the new bulk shipping can be sent if you choose. It'll create the items here, but also this is where costs would go that don't tie directly to an individual sale. So for example, if you had to purchase packaging tape, you would put that item here that you purchased tape, the date, and how much it cost. It doesn't come out against any one specific item, but in your profit and loss reports, it'll take out that amount of money against your total profits. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you just put the date, you pick the category, you pick the subcategory, and these categories and subcategories are set up on this screen here. So you would set the category over here and then list out the subcategories under the category header. The detailed description in as much detail as you want, or just leave it blank, it's up to you. And the amount, which is the dollar amount, which is the important number here. And we added a mileage tracking screen. If you just put the date and the number of miles driven and your destination, you can track that. This will let you view a query of that year. It'll just automatically fill in each month and the sum of that year in this box here. We'll quickly just look at some of these profit and loss reports. So you have your individual months profit and loss reports, where you can switch between the month and the year. You have your 4 quarters profit and loss. You can switch between years up top here. You have your detailed monthly profit and loss. So each of these is just a different way of viewing the same information, but depending on if you want to see a summary of it or each detailed month, you can view and print these different reports. Then there's reports that fill in with bar graphs and line graphs. Once you have information populated, again, you can change the year up top, and then it just breaks down your incomes and your expenses, and then your total net at the bottom. And then this is that same detailed information on a daily basis for one specific month. So you can trend your sales and see how your performance is going. And I think I mentioned already, but you can print any of these reports, and it makes a nice looking tangible report that you can give to your accountant or put on your refrigerator. So that's all I got for this video. If you made it to the end, congratulations. If you have any trouble getting started, just let me know. I recommend you try the free trial and let me know what you think. All right, thanks for your time, everybody. Bye.